Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a seriously fascinating full-circle journey, tracking the evolution of the automobile. We'll be tracing the incredible story of how we went from these crude, chaotic early experiments in the 1600s all the way to the highly digitized autonomous vehicles we see on the roads today. It's a story packed with incredible engineering, fierce competition, and honestly, a few surprising twists that completely changed the way we live and travel. Okay, let's dive right into this, because I actually want to start by completely shattering an assumption you might have. Take a look at this date, 1900. You probably think hybrid vehicles are a fairly recent invention, right? Like a product of the 21st century? Well, the surprising fact is that Ferdinand Porsche, yes, the exact same guy who later founded the iconic Porsche brand, unveiled the very first hybrid car way back in the year 1900. No way, right? It turns out some of our most modern ideas actually have incredibly deep roots. So here is the structured roadmap for our journey today. First up, steam, spark, and gas. Second, the mass production revolution. Third, eras of auto design. Fourth, the drive for comfort. And finally, number 5, the electric full circle. Section 1, steam, spark, and gas. The 19th century battle for propulsion. Heading back to the 19th century, early inventors were basically frantically searching for the best portable power unit to propel a vehicle. And that resulted in 3 major early competitors. First, we had steam. In 1770, Nicholas Joseph Cugnot demonstrated a steam-driven artillery tractor. The problem there? Well, steam engines were incredibly heavy and required massive, dangerous boilers. Next, we had electric. Robert Anderson created a crude electric carriage way back in the 1830s. Electric cars were clean and relatively quiet, but the battery technology was incredibly primitive. And finally, we had gas. Karl Benz developed a gasoline-powered vehicle in 1886. But early on, these liquid-fueled internal combustion engines were highly experimental, not to mention super unreliable. Now, you might be wondering, who was winning early on? Well, during the late 19th and early 20th century, electricity was actually among the preferred methods for automobile propulsion. People initially loved early electric cars, but as we know, gasoline engines eventually won out. Why? Well, advances like the electric starter made gas cars so much easier to use. But the real decider was greater range, much quicker refueling times compared to slowly charging a crude battery, and a rapidly growing petroleum infrastructure. So the crucial point is that Karl Benz's invention in 1886 officially proved that gas-powered horseless carriages were the way of the future. The Benz patent Motorwagen is widely considered the very first modern, practical, and marketable automobile for everyday use. And when his wife, Bertha Benz, took it on a historic long-distance road trip in 1888, she proved the vehicle was absolutely capable of extended travel, officially sparking a brand-new global industry. Moving right along to Section 2, the mass production revolution, from novelty to accessibility. Let's move to and see how this builds as we enter the early 20th century, because the whole focus shifted dramatically. It was no longer just about inventing the car, it became all about building it efficiently so the average person could actually afford it. In 1897, Ransom E. Olds founded Oldsmobile, and by 1901, he had pioneered a basic assembly line using identical, interchangeable parts for the curved-dash Oldsmobile. This was a huge leap. But the true revolution arrived with Henry Ford. He introduced the Model T in 1908, and then in 1913, he implemented the advanced moving assembly line, completely revolutionizing the factory floor forever. Just look at the impact of that single innovation. Ford's 1913 moving assembly line literally allowed him to drop the price of the Model T by almost 50%. By drastically cutting production time on costs, Ford transformed the automobile from an expensive luxury toy for the rich into the very first genuinely mass affordable car. That was an absolute game changer. Which brings us to Section 3, Eras of Auto Design, Shaping the Modern Vehicle. So, now that cars were rolling out of factories by the millions, what did they actually look like? We can break the early 20th century down into 3 distinct visual eras. First, the veteran era, which was totally chaotic. I mean, cars often used a tiller, like you'd see on a boat, instead of a steering wheel. Next was the brass era, where things started to standardize. We get the front engine layout, sliding gear transmissions, and open touring bodies. Finally, the vintage era arrives, bringing us standardized controls and fully closed bodies, making the car look much more like the vehicles we drive today. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how rapidly consumers demanded protection from the elements during that vintage era. Consider the statistic. In 1919, 90% of cars sold were open. By 1929, 90% were closed. In literally a single decade, the era of the open-air, buggy-style motor car was officially over, replaced by enclosed cabins. Fast forward past World War II, and we hit another absolutely massive design milestone: pontoon styling. Automakers entirely eliminated those bulky, protruding running boards you used to step up onto. Instead, they incorporated the fenders smoothly into the body of the car itself. Pioneered by cars like the 1946 Gaz M20 and the 1947 Standard Vanguard, this gave cars a sleek, integrated look that forever set the standard for modern design. All right, on to Section 4, the drive for comfort, transforming the cabin. With the exterior looking sleek, automakers naturally turned their attention to the interior. Let's run through these rapid-fire, largely American-led comfort milestones. In the 1930s, we get the first commercial in-car radio. In 1949, Chrysler invents the car key. Actually, think about that for a second. Before this, you had to physically turn a heavy hand crank at the front of the car just to start the engine, which was completely exhausting. Then 1951 gives us power steering, meaning you no longer needed a full upper body workout to turn a corner. 1953 brings air conditioning, and 1958 introduces cruise control, perfect for those long highway stretches. And man, the timeline accelerates even faster as we get into modern safety and tech. In 1959, Volvo invents the life-saving three-point seatbelt. Chrysler introduces ABS brakes in 1971. By 1976, Aston Martin is debuting the very first digital dashboard. Then we get CD players in 1984, GPS navigation hits the dashboard in 2000, and Bluetooth streaming arrives in 2001. Think about the dashboard you interact with today. It is the direct culmination of all these specific, incredible breakthroughs. And this brilliantly illustrates a really fascinating macro trend. The automobile didn't just get faster, right? It evolved from a raw, noisy mechanical novelty into a super comfortable, highly digitized living space. These micro-innovations over the decades fundamentally shifted our everyday relationship with cars, making them a true extension of our homes and our smartphones. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, the electric full circle, returning to the 19th century vision. So, this brings us to a massive, completely surprising return to the exact same technology that lost the propulsion war back in the 1800s. Looking at this timeline of the last few decades, the resurgence of battery power has been incredibly rapid. In 1997, Toyota released the Prius, trailblazing the mass-market hybrid. In 2008, Tesla proved an all-electric vehicle could be a high-performance, highway-capable machine with their Roadster. In 2010, the Nissan Leaf brought EVs to the everyday consumer. And by 2014, Tesla introduced autopilot, aggressively pushing us toward an autonomous future. To truly appreciate how far we've come, just picture this contrast. On one side, we have the 1888 Flocken Elektrowagen, considered by some to be the first actual electric car, basically a crude carriage with a heavy, weak battery. On the other side, we have the 2023 Tesla Model Y. In 2023, the Model Y didn't just sell well, it officially became the best-selling car in the entire world across all categories. The electric carriage has well and truly returned. So what exactly caused this massive shift? I mean, despite 130 years of total gasoline dominance, the modern era brought some intense new pressures. Rising environmental concerns regarding emissions, absolutely incredible leaps in lithium-ion battery technology, and deep fears of peak oil. Together, these modern factors have cemented a full-circle narrative, bringing the 19th century vision of the electric car right back to the forefront of human transportation. We've tracked an incredible journey today, from heavy steam boilers to the absolute dominance of the internal combustion engine, and now, a triumphant return to clean electricity. So I'll leave you with this to ponder. After 300 years of relentless innovation, from steam to gas and back to electric, what will the next 100 years of the automobile look like? Will it fly? Will it drive itself entirely? Keep wondering, keep learning, and thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.